But what really matters to me now when it comes to success is the multiplication of the talent for the people that are either under my wing or ones that turn to me for assistance or want advice or coaching, right? That is really what success is for me. It's not so much about me making the big bucks or me getting the big name or me, right? That has really changed. I did that. I'm there. I'm good. Now it's about how can I help others? And that's really where I get a lot of almost all of my gratitude and fulfillment comes from that.
Welcome to Authentic Energy, a podcast dedicated to getting to the bottom of what it means to be your true, authentic self at work. I am your host, Wendy Brand, a former corporate executive turned transformation coach. Let's take this learning journey together as I meet with guests weekly to learn how they've managed, or not managed, to find the elusive boundaries and success in their career and what it really means to find balance. Welcome back. I am so excited to share this episode with you, not just because of my amazing guest, but also because this is my 20th episode. And while that may not sound like a lot to you as an audience, as a podcast host, it marks a milestone. Actually, my 21st episode will mark a milestone. But I don't know if you know this, but 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3. That's roughly 1.8 million podcasters who quit. So I've already surpassed that. But of the 200,000 left, 90% will quit after 20 episodes. So I'm already ahead of the game. So appreciative of you listening. Just so excited to bring you even more great content. And I'm so excited. I'm so grateful for the guests that have shared their story on these episodes. And I know that I've learned so much from them. But starting next week, I'm going to be launching a series that begins to share more tips and tools for moving into a more authentic energy. And it's a partnership with a friend and fellow coach. And our hope is that we can start bringing more actionable value, learnings that we have found along our own personal journey in our own lives, and what we've learned through coaching others. So this episode marks the last of this format for a while, and I could not have picked a better guest for this transition. Today, my guest is Sheevaun Thatcher. Sheevaun is a storyteller and guide, a leader and a learner. Her jungle gym career in sales, marketing, IT, solution engineering, and professional services gave her all the relevant experience to create powerful sales enablement teams. Today, Sheevaun is Vice President of Slack Strategic Enablement at Salesforce. And as you will hear in her story, her fulfillment and gratitude in life now comes from helping those on her team, which really has been a common thread for the leaders that I have interviewed on this podcast to date. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Sheevaun, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Let's start by having you tell us a little bit about your career path and what you're doing today.
So my career path has been more like a jungle gym. I've done a lot of things. I've had the fortune of being in a position where business wasn't nearly as strict and as, swim lanes weren't defined and all of the things that you had to follow in the past. And so I got to do a lot of different things. I got to do sales and marketing and product management and teaching and you name it. I got to do a lot of different things. And then in the last recession, 2008, company I was at had to make a decision. They had two leaders that were managing a particular function. And they said, we've got this person who can continue that one. We want you to do this new thing. And I was, what is the new thing? And they said, it's called, they didn't have a name for it. They said, whatever you're doing with all the pre-sales folks, we want you now to do that with everybody that's customer facing. And I went, okay, great. What is that? And they're like, well, I don't know, make it up. And so it was one of those situations where I could have run and hid, which I almost did. And the other one was, okay, let's just lean into this and see what this thing can be. And so my first title, I got to name myself, my own title, was the VP of Global Success Metrics. I didn't know what else to call it. But what's interesting is I look back now and think from that point forward, everything I did was driven by data. which meant I was able to do a lot of programs that I could then justify to get to where I am now. So I'm currently at Salesforce. I was at Slack leading the enablement team there. Slack enablement and Salesforce enablement merged in March. And right now we're in the incubation period, and I'm spending my time coaching my team and helping them figure out where best they would fit within the larger Salesforce environment. And that's kind of where I am. And then on the side, I'm looking to determine where I want to go.
Very cool. Well, Slack and Salesforce, those are two big techs in my mind. Congratulations. And the sales enablement stuff is
Thank you.
Quite the role. You know, the reason that I created this podcast is really to talk to women that are finding success in their career and managing to find some balance. I know that coaching is a big part of your life. Turns out we both have been through the same coaching program with IPEC. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious about your definition of success. So for you, has that definition changed over time? What is it for you today?
It has changed dramatically over time. Initially, success was all about me. It was, how am I going to make enough money? Where am I going to go and buy my BMW? That was my thing, right? If I had a BMW by the time I was 30, I was successful. So it was very much materialistic and very self-centered and very looking inward. I was able to purchase one. I just didn't at the age of 30. So I was like, great, now what? And so, there was a lot of hits and miss. I've had a lot of, I'm not even going to call them failures. I don't really believe in failure. I think you just end up in a place you didn't count on, which is one of the tenements of coaching that I use all the time. It's like, it's not a failure. What did you learn from it? And how do you not go down that road again? It's simply where you didn't plan on being. So I had a lot of those over the years, which is, hence the jungle gym that I referred to earlier. But what really matters to me now when it comes to success is the multiplication of the talent for the people that are either under my wing or ones that turn to me for assistance or want advice or coaching, right? That is really what success is for me. It's not so much about me making the big bucks or me getting the big name or me, right? That has really changed. I did that. I'm there. I'm good. Now It's about how can I help others? And that's really where I get a lot of almost all of my gratitude and fulfillment comes from that.
Isn't that amazing? I've heard that from several women that I've had on the show. I think it really is kind of that turning from the external things to really finding that internal happiness by helping others. It's really the service to others that just seems like that pivotal point. Was there anything, would you say there's something that caused that for you, that pivot? Do you recall?
Oh, yes.
What was that?
It was IPEC. It was the coaching.
Okay.
In March of 2012, I got up the nerve to ask the company I was working for the funds to do this. Scariest thing I did was walk through that door on that Friday morning. And it was the best thing I could have possibly done for myself. It changed everything. It changed my personal life. It changed my business life. It changed my confidence. It changed my fallback on imposter syndrome, right? All of those, keeping myself small. It changed all of that. And that over that time, now it wasn't immediate. It took time for me to really lean into it and learn as I went.
Yeah.
But that program showed me that when you trust in yourself and when you trust that things are going to happen as you think about them. I'm not all woo-woo about this. I do trust the universe. Since then, anytime I said, universe, you need to come through with me, it always has. Yeah. Right. So I'm, that's as far woo-woo as I get.
Yeah.
But it was that coaching, that session at IPAC that turned everything around. 2013, I moved out to California. I moved out with a company I was working with, left everything behind in Georgia, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and started a new life. And out here, I did not need to be that little person, that small, scared, woman that I was before. Yeah. I could be someone else. And so that course gave me the strength and helped me learn that there was something else beside it. Helped me refrain, right? I don't say need anymore. I need something. I don't say need, because the moment you say need implies an exterior source, and you lose you lose control of your choices. I say want. That, again, a major coaching tenet that I use with a lot of folks. Just change that one word. One word can change your whole life. I want to do this, not I need to. And so it was that event, that course really, it just changed everything. I would not be who I am right now without it, period. There's no doubt in my mind.
That's amazing. And so for the listeners, I haven't talked a lot about my coaching program on the podcast, but IPEC is the program that you went through, and it's the program that I am currently going through. We're about to finish up. When this podcast airs, I'll have finished my third kind of in-person module, and the coaching that we're doing kind of in between class with peer client, peer coach, like we're getting all the experience. And someone reached out to me the other day and asked if I needed a coach. And I was like, I think I have all the coaches I need right now.
Yes.
Between the peers and everything. Yeah. But anyway, that's wonderful. And it's exciting to hear how it's impacted your life. I know for me, it has impacted my life as well in a bit of a different way. I left my job on October 31st, just complete burnout, and started Mod 1, the first program for IPEC, like November 5th or November 15th, like several. And so it was just kind of this beautiful transition, really kind of coming out of burnout. This last 6 months has just been, amazing kind of awakening for me. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing your experience on that. So let's talk a little bit about your role in your company, and how does coaching play a role in that for you?
So my role currently is a leader of this enablement team. And as an enablement team, our jobs are really to be strategic partners with our sellers, right? Our seller, anybody that's customer facing.
Right.
A lot of that is coaching my team to ask the right questions and coaching them to have confidence in what they're doing, right? And the main thing that I've been coaching them on is how to use a very simple word, and that word is no. Because, and you learn this a lot in coaching programs, is that there's levels of energy, and there's, doing what I'm doing and doing what my team is doing. We are in service. We are in service. And as such, we have a tendency to give it all away. Give it all away, continually giving it all away. Even when you don't have anything left, you continue giving it all away. What is not taken into account is what happens to you, to the work that you're doing, to the folks that you're delivering it to, if you continue doing this. Because eventually you overpromise and underdeliver, because you just can't keep it up and you burn out. And there are a lot of things that go along that line. So a lot of the coaching that I do with my team has to do with how do they maintain a harmony in their lives, not a balance. They're trying to get a work-life balance. I mean, that assumes an even keel, and there's just no way that can happen. But you can have a flow, you can have a harmony, as long as you are aware of what's going on and that you're really paying attention to who you are. And so it is teaching them that it's okay to be in service and to still say no, because it's either not a priority, or it's not aligned with the business, or it isn't something that makes sense for the business, right? And so it's this partnership and seeing themselves as partners. That's a lot of the coaching that I do. I do coaching with how do they gain balance in their life when it comes to how much they give versus how much they receive, right? We're givers. We give. How do you make sure that you get your professional development? How do you make sure that you find those mentors within the business? How do you make sure that you're aware of your own EQ and how you show up, and that you can see how your behavior is affecting those who work for you or other teammates, or, there's a lot of things, right? Now, I've got decades of experience in business, which puts me in a very good position to be able to do a lot of this. I make mistakes. I screw up here and there and elsewhere, but I've learned that with the coaching and being able to show folks what I've learned and how it's affected me, that has really, really helped. It's really helped.
And so for you personally, what are there things that you do I'm hearing that saying no is probably one of them, but in order to not like deplete your energy as you're leading teams, especially it sounds like, merging two groups together right now with Salesforce and Slack, what do you do to prevent energy depletion in your life?
So it's being absolutely ruthless with my own personal time, really is what it is. If I allowed it, and notice I'm choosing those words very carefully.
Yeah.
If I allowed it, then folks would continue asking for my time, 22 hours of a day. And the last 2 hours, I would just be totally passed out from exhaustion. And then we go again. That is how people function. That's how people work, especially in the Americas, right? It's just, it's always go, 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 go. So being ruthless with my time, being ruthless with paying attention to my family, as well as my work, is really, really important to me. I mean, I talk to my folks a lot. When I say folks, I mean my team and those that I work with, around values, right? Because values are really what drive it. And that's something else I learned through IPAC.
Yes.
And so I have 3 fundamental values that I stay in front of me all the time, and that's family, health, and work. Those values haven't changed since I was knee high to a grasshopper. The order of priority has changed. Absolutely. The order of priorities changed. Family is number 1, period, end of sentence. Cross T's, dot I's, done. If something is going on with my family, if someone on my team is having an issue with their family, then that is priority over anything, right? You can always get another job. You can always get another job. Take care of your family. So that is where the big values come in, right? And that is how I can be ruthless with my time to say, you know what? On a Friday afternoon, I need to get my feathers trimmed, and I really enjoy it, and it's relaxing, and I love talking with my stylist, and I'm out. Now, I'll probably put in some time on the weekend just to pick it back up again, but I am careful that I am not my work, and my work is not me. My work is something I do. It's how I get paid. It's how I can give back in some ways to what I've received over the years. But it's not who I am.
But I hear that you enjoy it.
I do.
I mean,
I love
when you talk about it, I hear passion in your voice, right? So
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, you spend in a lot of cases, you spend more time at work than you do at home. I could not imagine spending 50 or over 50% of my life in a catabolic state. I just couldn't imagine that. Right. And the other 50% in the anabolic state, in the positive. And I know people, I mean, the numbers are a lot, 80% of the population is in a catabolic state all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Always negative, always. I just can't imagine living that way anymore. I did. Yeah. I don't now. And so now for me, it is, if I don't enjoy my job, then it's time to go look at something else. It doesn't mean it's always perfect. It doesn't mean it's always smooth sailing and I'm having a great time. Somebody asked me with my move over to this company, are you having fun? And I said, at the moment, I wouldn't call it fun. I'm getting a lot of I'm getting a lot of satisfaction of what I'm doing. And I'm getting a lot of, I feel a lot of gratitude for the situation that I'm in and the things that I'm learning and what I'm going through right now. Is it fun right now? No, not really. Is it going to be fun again? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, mergers are not easy by any stretch.
Right.
I knew that going in. Yeah. I knew that when I joined Slack, the possibility of coming over to Salesforce was going to happen. Happened 6 months earlier than I expected. It was going to happen. And so I can either choose to be negative about it, or I can choose to look at it as a real opportunity. And that is the choice that I am making. This is what I'm trying to teach my folks as well. This is your choice. You can make these choices. And you make these choices by ensuring that you understand what is important to you and these values. Again, it always comes back to the values.
Yes, I 100% agree. So in bringing coaching into your work, what are some of the benefits that you've seen by integrating coaching?
So integrating coaching means that folks have the opportunity to feel safe to say what's on their mind. That if I can show that I'm vulnerable, if I can show, and when I show that if I've made an error, I will cop to it. If they know that they are protected, they call me the she-wolf, right? They call me the she-wolf because they know that for someone to get to them, they've got to come through me. And so it is setting up that environment where where the risk is reduced, where they have the opportunity to really grow outside of what they want and what they think they're capable of. That is where the coaching shows up more often than not. Very first time I met with my whole team, I told them I want to put every single one of you up on stage, not at Salesforce. I want to put you up on a big stage, right? So you're out there. Now, some of them, of course, totally freaked out, but others were just like, that's not possible. I now have had 4 people have been on stage since I've been there, all excited, right? Because they have done something they did not know they were capable of. Coach them to take the risk, take the chance. If it fails, it's on me. If it doesn't, scream your name to the highest, into the rafters. And so it's doing that kind of coaching. It's teaching them how to coach their own people, how to listen, right? First, to understand before you respond. How to run meetings where when you ask a question, you let everybody else speak first before you say something. Right? It's some of that basic coaching, understanding the values, being ruthless about their time when they're at time off, making sure that folks are having fun, being as transparent as I possibly can, right? Not creating this artificial harmony that you see in a lot of places, right? A lot of leaders are like, it's going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. No, we're going to go through a rough patch. We're going through a rough patch. Right. And we will come out the other side. And I've been through this before. I've been through recessions. I've been through all of this. We will come out the other side. And not only will we come out of it, but we will come out of it better than we were when we went in.
Yeah.
Always happens that way.
And would you say that most of this happens, most of your coaching is one-on-one, or is it with the whole team? How do you work mostly
My
with them?
coaching is a constant. Virtually every conversation I'm on, whether it's one person, 2 people, 10 people, a room of 500, I am coaching. And it is, again, that's where I get a lot of my joy is from that, is really coaching folks to see beyond. Again, I know it sounds very repetitive, but it's really coaching people to understand that they are a lot more than they think they are. And that it's okay to have fears. It's okay to have grief. It's okay to have all of this reticence and this nervousness. Use it. Use it as, reframe it as enthusiasm, right? When I hear people say, I don't have time to do that, I respond immediately and said, it's not that you don't have time. It's that you're not willing to make it a priority. And you can see them sitting back going, I'm like, it's true. You have all the time in the world. You're not willing to make it a priority. Own that. Is it a priority or not? If it is a priority, then you will make the time.
I love it.
You're my hero. Yeah. Well, I do a lot of coaching around words, about how we speak to ourselves, what we think, the words that we say, right? I talk about that need and want. I talk about this priority and time. I talk about, the and the but. Right? Every time you say but, try to replace it with and, see what happens. I talk about the, I think Brene Brown does a lot of this, which is, at least. When I hear somebody say that, I know what follows is not going to be empathetic in any way whatsoever. Right? Well, at least you have that. Yeah. Well, you're not helping me here. That's not what I want. Right? It's coaching people how to listen. And it's coaching people to figure out whether or not you actually do help, whether do they want coaching? Do they want mentoring? Or do they want you just to listen? Right. And determining that really has an impact on what you do as a leader, and in business and in life as well.
And so what guidance would you give leaders that are wanting to kind of create more of a coaching culture in their organization or in their leadership style?
First of all, determine your values. Absolutely determine your values. And if your values as a leader are money first and title and all that kind of stuff, you're going to struggle coaching, because at that, it's all about you.
You're right.
As a leader, if you really do want to help people and you really do want to be a leader, then your values have to shift a little bit. The order of your values has to shift a little bit, where it's not about you, where it's about other people and what can you do to help other people. I don't always say yes to a lot of folks, even my own team, right? There are mistakes that are made and I deal with them. There's discipline, there's all of that. You have to have that. But it's the willingness as a leader to put yourself out there, to be truly vulnerable, which is very, very hard. Folks that have worked really hard to get into the big roles, it's
Right.
hard for them to go, I screwed that up, right? That was a mistake. Leaning on others, delegating the work. I used to believe for the longest time the job would only get done well if I did it. And even as a leader, I had to learn that if I had people under me and I said, here, you go do this job, that I just couldn't come in over the top and go, do it this way, now do this. As long as the job got done, I learned it was going to be okay. Now, I still become a dictatorial steamroller if things go wrong, right? If we run up against a deadline and the job's not done, then you're going to hear from me. And
Yeah.
I will coach you how to get it done, right? So it's being vulnerable, it's being open and honest. You can't tell everything as a leader. There's things that you need to keep to yourself, confidentiality reasons or otherwise, but it's letting people know who you really are. For half of my career, half of my life was hidden and nobody ever saw it. Nobody knew anything about it, right? It got me into horrible situations. Now, everybody knows who I am. They know who I am. They know about my wife, my kids, what I do. They know that because that is who I am. That's part and parcel of what makes up me. As a leader, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've been through a bunch of this stuff and I want to help people, if they do make these errors, to understand that they're doing it and to perhaps help them get out of it if they want to. That's the other thing. You can't force coaching on anybody.
Right.
They have to want to be coached. They have to be open to coaching.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say just congratulations for being able to be yourself, your true self in the workplace. I think that it has been difficult for me. I've not even really hiding anything, but creating this persona that I thought others wanted to see, that this is the professional me. And then at home, I'm something different. But when I come to work, this is the professional me. Even something like that, it can wear you down, just the pretense of it. So I know, I mean, I can relate in that sense, just having to pretend. So I'm curious also from coaching, if have you ever found yourself kind of coaching up, like with other leaders above you? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're coaching leaders above you, and how did that go?
Yes. I do that almost every day as well.
Okay.
a lot of it has to do with the type of work that I do and what enablement is and getting people to understand it, coaching them into being open themselves and being honest and talking about some of these things. Right. And so it's helping them understand that as a coach, you're not necessarily the big shiny star anymore. And you have to be comfortable with that. And so even with folks that are senior to me, coaching them on how to talk to other sales leaders, because I've done it for many, many years, right? Then you have ops people talking to sales leaders and they're butting heads. I'm like, okay, here, let's try this, try a different approach to doing that. So sometimes my coaching is unwelcome, and that happens. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times folks are like, this is great, thanks. Can I talk to you every month? Sure, happy to.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. I would like to think that I was the type of leader, and some of the folks that, that I've worked with in previous years listen to the podcast, so they can message me offline if they don't agree with this. But I do think that I was a coach even before going through a coaching program, that I led by elevating people to be their best selves. That's what I wanted, to really call out their strengths and raise them up, because it just, as a leader, seeing your people thrive is just, you can't beat it. However, now having been through a coaching program, I do think, I said earlier, you're my hero. Like, I feel like if I were to go back into the corporate world, I hope that I would lead like it sounds like you're leading, with the coaching really being kind of at the foundation. So kudos to you and your style. And it sounds like you've got, you have found success, probably your current meaning of it, and maybe your past meaning of it. So Well done. I have some personal questions now, if that's all right, if we move into some fun personal questions. These are the 3 questions I ask all my guests. I think they're really intriguing. So the first question is, what is the one thing that just brings you pure joy?
Being out on a golf course. Just, it's one of those things where I know golf as a game can be very frustrating for others, but I spend so much time sitting at a desk, at a monitor, right? Or just being outside where I can't do anything but hit a stupid ball into a hole, right? And the whole point of the game is to hit it as little as possible. So, the whole thing just lines up for me, right?
Yes.
I love doing that.
That's awesome. Okay, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, like your 5 or 6-year-old self, what would you say to her?
I would tell her that it's all going to be okay. We moved around a lot as kids, and I never really made any tight friends because we always knew my dad was military. So he knew within 6 months it would just be, pulled apart. And so I did a lot of talking in my head. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't any of that, but I didn't open up. I didn't share, right? My mom used to say that I had shark eyes whenever she got upset with me because I would just sit there and not say anything. She said, your eyes would just go black. And so it was that inability to be able to communicate, right? I'm still learning how to communicate, right? Drives my wife crazy sometimes, but I'm still learning how to communicate. So I would have told that child at 5 years old, it's okay to be open and honest and tell people who you are and what you're thinking. Because I've learned just not to do any of it.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a tough one. I love that advice. Okay. And the last question is travel. I love to travel. So what is your favorite place you visited? And then what's on your bucket list?
Oh my God. My favorite place in the world to visit was Thailand. It wasn't Phuket and the beaches and all that. We went north. And so we went up into the Golden Triangle and the temples it was just so spiritual. I don't consider myself religious, right? I'm a recovering Catholic. Not even Catholic anymore, but I don't consider myself religious, but I do consider myself spiritual, but I never had an anchor. And when I went to Thailand and I started to see the representation of that spirituality. And then I started to meet the people that actually lived it every single day. That changed my life. I've got a big Buddha tattoo on my leg, right? Oh, it's wow. It changed my life. That trip did. So I love Thailand. Second would be London. Love London, but for a different reason. My bucket list is Japan. I've flown through Japan a number of times, but I've never actually gotten off the plane, right? Yeah. Seeing the snow monkeys in those hot ponds. I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. Just again, seeing the representation of that spirituality, because Japan is another place that has a lot of that. And so seeing that represented, Angkor Wat, right? That whole kind of area, I think was something that I'd love to see.
Awesome. Sounds like I'm going to add Japan to my bucket list. Australia and New Zealand are at the top.
A friend of mine is getting married in Australia in November. And I'm like, and Salesforce has an office there. So I'm wonder if I can figure out a way
figure that one out.
I'm going one way or the other. Either I'm buying the ticket or Salesforce.
Or they are, right.
But I am going to Australia. And it's a place I've always wanted to see.
Yeah.
For years.
Awesome. I bet it's gorgeous. Well, Sheevaun, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. I just really appreciate you sharing your story with us and how coaching has impacted your life and the folks that work for you, I'm sure. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
All right. What an amazing conversation. Okay, here are my takeaways. Number 1, instead of calling experiences failures, look at those experiences as ending up in a place you didn't plan on being. Number 2, saying need implies an exterior source. Change need to want, and it can change the way that things come to you. Number 3, when you're working in service, you have a tendency to give it all away, and this can lead to overpromising and underdelivering. It's okay to be in service and still say no. Number 4, coach your team to ask for personal development, find mentors in the business, and become aware of their own EQ and how to show up for their team and others. Number 5, being transparent with your team about what you have learned along the way can be part of how you coach your team. Number 6, be ruthless with your own personal time by paying attention to your values. Your values may change, or the priority of each may change over time, but being aware of your values can help you be ruthless with your time. Number 7, don't try to create an artificial harmony where everything is just fine. Be as honest as you can about what's happening. Number 8, every time you want to say but, replace it with and see what happens. Number 9, coaching as a leader is willingness to put yourself out there. Be truly vulnerable, leaning on others, delegating the work. It's about letting people know who you are. That is all. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.